Hey guys, unusual, right? Starting a video off just like this. Let me tell you something really quick. This deck profile here is going to be extremely special. You want to know why? Because me and this deck have a lot of history. Now, I know if you saw my short about ice barriers, I made a lot of fun of them, especially them sucking. Can't really help it. The deck is not good. Hasn't been good since what, 2011, 2010, whatever it was when it first came out. However, that still didn't stop young YGO podcast from making a Pojo account, which you can see right here, commenting about ice barriers and simping for ice barriers back in 2011. So I have a shit ton of history with this deck. So I'm gonna go ahead and profile it. If I could talk shit about it, I can definitely profile it. So that's what we're gonna do here today. But I figured that you as my audience should know my extensive background history with this piece of deck. So let's go ahead and get on into it. All right, and we're back. So, like I said before in the intro, I've got a lot of history with this deck. I hope you guys are looking forward to my build of it. This has been ongoing for 12 years, guys. 12 years. It's crazy. I know, right? Simping for 12 years for this deck to be good. And I just kind of gave up hope somewhere along the way. But we're back here again, man. It feels good, feels kind of weird, but I'm going to profile ice barriers and exactly what this deck can do, man. Let me turn on my light here real quick. All right, perfect. So without further ado, let's go ahead and debut this. But first, please make sure that you guys subscribe. Please subscribe. You guys are killing me, man. Please subscribe to the channel if you like the content and you want to see more. If you're new here, please comment, like, whatever you got to do, man. I really appreciate it. For those of you lurking, I see you. I see you. Come on, man. Subscribe to the channel, please. So we could really use it. This channel's growing big. Got a big announcement here coming up soon for the channel. So if you like it, make sure that you guys are part of the conversation. All right, let me shut up now. Let's go ahead and get into this deck profile. All right. So, all right. So, you know, it's funny. I don't think I have to read any one of these cards. So, you got one General Grunard of the Ice Barrier. All right. Most folks don't run this, but he's an extra normal summon for the deck. No restrictions, just he gains that effect once per turn. It doesn't activate, you just kind of use it and then that's it. All right, so it's not like you have to activate the effect to use the normal summon. Because of the wording, it's just once per turn. Anyway, he's pretty good, big monster. You can smash something out with some card effects, pretty simple to get to. One medium special summons herself from the hand, and she puts a really interesting restriction on your opponent. Essentially, your opponent can't activate more than one, I think one effect, spell or trap. Let me see.
Stupid.
Oh my God, I have to read it. Yeah, one spell or trap each turn. So this kind of limits your opponent's plays, obviously. And it's not a bad card. It's not a bad card. It's a pretty good card, in my opinion. I like it. I like the fact that if your opponent controls more cards than you do, which if you're going second, you kind of want to use it as bait. And then if your opponent is, especially if they're running like a trap strategy, this kind of hurts their strategy. It means that they need to play a card to get that off the field. And if it doesn't work, then they are done for the turn. Like it's nothing but monster effects after that. So pretty simple, right? Then you're going to run one Daisojo of the Ice Barrier. He protects all of your Ice Barrier, has a blanket effect from spell and trap effects. So they're just unaffected. All right, pretty good. You've got two General Wayne of the Ice Barrier. General Wayne is a part of the new structure deck cards. Essentially what he does is if you control an Ice Barrier monster and your opponent controls a card, you can special summon it from the hand, searches out any spell or trap Ice Barrier card from the deck, adds it to hand. Level 5, he's kind of supposed to work with I think what is it, Royal Knight Royal Knight of the Ice Barrier, he's supposed to work along with that because they're both level 5s. Royal Knight, when it's tribute summoned, it creates a token on your opponent's side of the field. So it's supposed to be like a first turn strategy because he's a level 5 as well. Same with General Wayne, or yeah, with General Wayne. So they're supposed to create a rank 5 play or whatever the case may be. So then you're gonna run 3 of the whatever that new card is called. Just kidding. This card is called Speaker of the Ice Barrier. So with the newer Ice Barrier cards, guys, I forget their names sometimes. I'm getting old. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But I do remember their effects. So Speaker is actually a damn good card because she special summons herself, and then she also has a graveyard effect. So if you control an Ice Barrier, you can special summon her from the hand, and if she's in the graveyard, you can banish her to create a token on your side of the field. So she almost has no drawback. You can use each of her effects once per turn. She's like the best card in the deck, so you need her. She's a great extender, level 4, great synchro bait, just all around great card. This is the card I really don't like that much, and it's Revealer. Oh wow, how could you not like Revealer, right? Well, I don't like Revealer because it locks you into waters. There is a it kind of limits the potential of the deck if you're locked into waters. Now, of course, water archetype has been pretty strong since, you know, frogs and Sprite and all that other stuff. But in my opinion, you want to be versatile, right? You want the deck to be as versatile as possible. So I don't like being locked into waters. So I really don't like her effect that much. But essentially, you discard 1 card, special summon a Ice Barrier tuner monster from your deck. And then when she's in the graveyard, if you're going to discard or use an effect of which you send for cost for an Ice Barrier effect, you can banish her instead. So you know, I would say I'm running it at 3 just because I want to do a pure version of this deck, or at least as pure as possible, and you know, as competitive as possible. However, I don't think mixing this deck with a lot of other cards like nimble cards and all that other cards, I don't want to do that just yet. That's gonna take kind of the heart and soul out of the deck. I want to do Ice Barriers, right? So we're gonna run 2 of this guy, 2 of the little baby dragon. He's so cute, right? Essentially, he's a swap frog. When he's summoned, he mills an Ice Barrier. He sends an Ice Barrier monster from your deck to grave. And he's a tuner. He's a level 1 tuner, and that's pretty much it. He pumps up attack or decreases attack. Who gives a shit? All we really care about is that he sends a monster from the deck to the graveyard. Doesn't matter what type. So that's really what you're going to be using to synchro summon. You have some other tuners in the deck as well, but as far as he goes, he's actually pretty useful. He doesn't lock you into anything, which is really good. I like a lot of cards that do not lock you into certain restrictions, especially even if the deck is all water. I don't like that. Then you've got Zuijin. I hate this card. I'm not even going to lie to you. I would run it at 1. I'd run it at 1, and I really do hate it because the only good effect that it has technically, right, is in the graveyard. So when it's in the graveyard, you can target a level 3 or higher Ice Barrier monster, reduce its level by 2, then he can special summon himself out the graveyard, and then he's banished if he leaves the field. But of course, he's a level 2 water type, so what are you going to make? You're going to make totally awesome, okay? That's essentially, they know that you're going to keep reusing him. However, if you send him to the graveyard, he cannot use that graveyard effect that turn. You have to wait a whole turn, and you could be dead by then. In order to use that graveyard effect, he's really pointless. If you normal summon him, you have to waste a normal summon on this weak-ass monster in order to special summon a level 5 or higher Ice Barrier monster from your hand. He's kind of pointless. There's really no, if he had an effect kind of like Sleeper where he can special summon himself and then, you know, you can dump him, or he can send himself to the grave to special a monster out of hand, he'd be so much better. But as you know, as it stands, I really don't like him that much. I honestly I think I don't like him as much as I don't like Prior either. Now, Prior is actually somewhat decent because he's got more utility. But his restriction is very, very hard. Okay, it's very, very hard. You can special summon Prior from the Ice Barrier just, I think, for free. He's just a freebie. You don't have to control an Ice Barrier monster or anything, but if you special summon him with his own effect, you cannot special summon level 5 or higher monsters for the rest of the turn. So that really sucks ass. All right, just straight up, it sucks ass. I'm sorry. It is what it is, but you can tribute him on the off the field to special summon a monster, an Ice Barrier monster, out of your graveyard, which, I mean, is pretty good utility. So technically you could, I don't know, you could dump with the little baby dragons effect, you can dump him, you can dump Zujin to the grave, then you can special summon Prior, right? And then Prior contribute itself, special summon Zujin. I don't know, really, you know, but it's Ice Barriers, guys. Let's not think too hard about it. Then you're going to be running one Spellbreaker, I think this is. Yeah, one Spellbreaker. Spellbreaker is broken, guys. Spellbreaker is broken. Now, I tried playing this card back in the day when, you know, spell cards were like very, very limited. Very, very limited. And this card is just, it's always been good. It's just people never could use it properly because it's an Ice Barrier card, you know. And Ice Barriers, their whole theme is that, oh, we have to make sure other Ice Barriers are on the field so that way we can use our effects. And that's kind of how they always have been. So what she does is you can discard one card and she just shuts down spells until the end of your opponent's next turn. So for you and your opponent, for 2 turns, neither of you can use spell cards, which is actually pretty freaking good. And against Striker, that's almost like a death sentence, except for the fact that, you know, Strikers have quick play spells. So as soon as it turns off, it comes back to your turn, they're activating all kinds of stuff. But then no engage, no multi, none of that stuff, no activations anyway. So that's pretty much it for the main crew of Ice Barriers. I just wanted to keep it pure as possible. I didn't want to do a whole bunch of shenanigans with toads and frogs and nimbles and all the other type of stuff. I wanted to do strictly Ice Barrier. So with the new support, obviously, we're going to be running Nibiru. Nibiru, you're going to need it. You're just going to have it. This deck is too slow at doing stuff, so you're gonna have to level the playing field consistently. So having 3 Nibiru, that's gonna help you kind of keep your opponent with a minimal board, so that way you can kind of run them over and, you know, keep them under control. That's essentially what you need to do with this deck. It's a control deck, so you want to keep them under control. You're gonna be running 3 Ash Blossoms. That's fairly standard. Then you're gonna be running 3 Pot of Prosperity. That's fairly standard. You know, it's funny, I don't even know if I've removed these things from the same sleeves. I don't think I have. I've been using Ash and Prosperity almost in every deck profile. So essentially, if you want to, you can change it to Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is pretty good still. Or if you need, but most of Ashes, you should be able to pick up your copies of Ashes fairly cheap now. They come in common, so, you know, grab your Ashes. You should at least be able to have Ash. Everybody should have an Ash. Prosperity, you can use Pot of Extravagance. Essentially, you can use Pot of Extravagance, dig for more cards. You just need card advantage, and Prosperity just kind of gives you a little bit better resources for card advantage. Getting on to the Ice Barrier spells, so you're going to be using 3 Medallion. That's essentially your Rhoda. It searches out any Ice Barrier monster and adds it to hand. Then you're going to be using this card. Now this card's very funny. So the name is Winds of the Ice Barrier. Sorry, I forgot the name of it already. The card is extremely hilarious. Essentially what it does is you can destroy Ice Barrier monsters on your side of the field, then special summon Ice Barriers with different names from your deck for each card, for each monster that was destroyed. So you can special summon essentially all these cards out of your deck right? If you control 3 or whatever the case may be, you can just get a whole bunch. You can start swarming and keeping effects locked down and whatnot. Then it has a graveyard effect. Let me read the graveyard effect real fast. It says, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, of freaking course, right? It says target one of your ice barrier monsters that is banished or in your graveyard added to your hand. So the card exceptionally, and with it being a spell, it's not that bad. At least the restriction, it's not that bad. But this card is pretty exceptional for what it does, and it's free for ice barriers. So I count it as a plus. It's a good support card. Then you've got triple freezing chains of the ice barrier. This is essentially your special summon. So I believe it's a level 3 or lower ice barrier monster in the graveyard. Level 4 or lower. You can special summon a level 4 or lower ice barrier monster in your graveyard. Then it says while you control 3 or more ice barrier monsters, you can it says monsters you control are unaffected by activated effects of your opponent's monsters that were special summoned from the extra deck. So this gives you protection against links, XZs, everything, fusions. So any effects that your opponent's activating from monsters from the extra deck, if you control 3 ice barrier monsters, all your monsters are unaffected. Pretty decent. I like it for its reborn effect. Doesn't say that you can't have more than 1 face up on the field. So, you know, that's why you're running 3. It says special summon a level 4 or lower. Most of our monsters here are, besides, look, I think maybe 3 or 4 of them. So you might as well run it maxed out. Then for our one-ofs, we're going to be running one Foolish Burial, then 1 Instant Fusion, 1 for 1 Call by the Grave. Then we're going to do triple Imperm, all right, and that's to slow our opponent down. And then on last, we'll use 1 Terrors of Trishula, all right, because we're going to be synchro summoning and getting in all of our monsters and getting them out on the field. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to just keep on grinding, right? Okay. All right, so that's the main deck. That's what you were looking forward to. Let's get into some other stuff real fast. Let's get into some other stuff. So, like I said, me and this deck have an extensive amount of history. All right. So this is going to be the new Trishula card. All right. And this is going to be Trishula 0 Dragon of the Ice Barrier. Essentially, when it's synchro summoned, you banish 3 cards your opponent controls. So it can banish 3 cards your opponent controls, but it has to banish 3. Then it's a pretty wild monster, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. When it's destroyed or when it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can special summon a Trishula, a regular Trishula from your extra deck, and then you can have the attack of all of your opponent's monsters and negate their effects. So it's pretty good in my opinion. I mean, good enough to have 1. And it's good enough to be so detrimental to your opponent that if you summon it once, it kind of hurts. I mean, banish 3 cards. If your opponent's not prepped for that, they're going to freaking lose. That's all there is to it. It also increases the Trishula, the other Trishula dragon attack, to 3,300, I believe. So then you've got regular Trishula. Everybody knows what Trishula does. Banishes 1 card from every area: graveyard, hand, field. Easy enough. Then you've got Gungnir. Gungnir is one of the least used ice barrier monsters besides Duellinks, and Gungnir just destroys 2 cards on the field. Yeah. Then you got Brio. Brio bounces cards, right? Everybody knows what that is. Then you've got Duellinks, right? And everybody knows what Duellinks does. So Brio bounces your opponent's cards. Duellinks bounces your own. Then, of course, we're running Barone. You have to, all right? You have to, because if you're not using Barone in today's day and age, you're a simp, all right? You're a simp and you don't know what you're doing, okay? You have no idea what you're doing. You don't know where you're going in life. You have to use a Barone. I'm sorry. I hate to break it to you. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. You're going to use 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 Bahamut Shark, one totally awesome, one sprite, one giant sprite. You run a lot of level 2s in this deck. You run Prior, you run Zuijin, you run, oh my goodness. Yeah, you run a couple, you run, I think, one more. You run some level 2s in here, and you're going to be seeing them quite a bit. Even though I don't like all of them, you're going to be using them. So you might as well. And level 2s are kind of your strongest asset in this deck. So you're also going to be, I put in a Daigusto Phoenix. Yeah, you know, it is what it is. If people don't like those choices, it's okay. It's all right. It's going to be okay. I promise. Then you're going to run one Marine Beast. So one Marine Beast. Let's go ahead. Let's see. I don't think we can show that. We can. There we go. So one Marine Beast. That's going to be obviously for your instant fusion target. It's a level 5. Then you got one Rare Fish. That's going to be for your another instant fusion target. Then you're going to be running one Lingaribo and then one Iria the Water Charmer. So 12 years in the making. That's what this deck has gotten. Some of the extra deck choices you guys can obviously change. I get comments all the time about, you know, my extra deck choices and even some of my main deck choices. I appreciate all the feedback. Trust me, I love all the hard times you guys decide to give me every single time, but it's cool. It's cool. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, you know. But if you guys like the profile, please hit that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, stop being afraid. I'm going to tell your mom. I'm going to write an angry letter to whatever town, mayor you live in, wherever. All right. I'm going to do something, right? I'm going to do something. But you need to hit that subscribe button. Seriously. But anyway, if you like the deck profile, you know what I mean? At least show your boy some love, man. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking. I'm just showing out, but that's all I'm asking. Yeah, man. 12 years. Can't believe it. I can't freaking believe it. Love it. Love you guys. Take it easy. I'll see you at the next conversation, man. Peace. Oh shit, it didn't stop, man.